Rick Dame, alcoholic. Appreciate your service. I'm gonna share from the heart, for a lot from the head. It's gonna piss off some people. There's a few walnuts over here who know that. And these are my guys. These guys over here. I have to wear my glasses because I can't see the masses. And I don't know any of you. Wow. Okay. Cool. There's a couple of formats. My old home group says, much of what you will hear may sound strange and unrelated to your immediate problem. Take what you can use and file the rest for future reference. Keep coming back. We've been saying that. It's been my home group for 35 years here in Prescott. And that just astounds the shit out of me. For a person who just had no capacity when I came here to keep coming back anywhere. I couldn't come back to the same bar. They would uninvite me. I mean, you know, the whole, not friends, it was cheers. No, you guys, you're too young. But it sucks. There's a man here, and he knows some stories, that have watched me suffer alcoholism in these rooms, in this room here, and keep coming back. And no one ever said, stop coming back, Rick. And never the thought of a drink. Never the thought of a drink and untreated alcoholism, harming people, sober. Never thought of a drink. That's what I'm going to be speaking about from my experience, because most of my experience is sober. I'm a lightweight. I drank for 9.5 years. I was on the streets for about 3 of that. I'm a plasma bank guy. Let me see. Nobody, no heads bobbing. Okay, 1. Okay. I'm gonna give you some reference to what that means, because you guys got it made. I was actually thinking about going back to that. Like recently, you can get like lots of money for sitting in the chair for 1 hour and 15 minutes. They suck you dry like a vampire, and then they stuff it back in and do it again. And I walk out of there at 8:15 in the morning on Tuesday, and nothing mattered. I was 19 years old. I had no more family. I was 19. I had a few friends left. So there's a couple of formats in Alcoholics Anonymous we sort of agree with. I can't stick to the formats. One says what it was like, what happened, what it's like now. And I'm going to blend that in with another format, which is experience, strength, and hope. Because there's only 2 people, the head bobbers, who kind of can relate to 7 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday and a Friday, hoping that my blood test will pass so I can give one more time. Well, back then, this is 40 years ago, I got $5 on a Tuesday morning and $10 on a Friday morning. And probably their 2 heads are going, well, pardon me, I have a sailor's hat, and I'm not going to even try to not swear. I will be a little bit conscious of it, but I like to swear, okay? It tickles me still. I mean, there's certain words. A guy I'm sponsoring has his phrase for a resentment. And you guys know this word. It's called fucked off, right? I mean, that says it all. That's attitudes in action. Fucked off. I'm like, I understand that completely. So I'm very tangential. I'm all over the place. If I'm supposed to go back to, I believe this is just my belief. There's nothing in this book. But if you want to spend some time, we can go through this book. But I'm going to give you some real stuff. There's this chapter 1, Bill's story. Isn't it interesting? He starts the story at 19 years old. Like, hey, Bill, what the hell happened for the first 18 years? And there's some history on it. I don't know if you're aware of this. At 16 years old, he suffered crippling depression. He didn't have many medications. Crippling. He lost the love of his life. She died. And life was over. It was over for him. I'm going to speak to you about my alcoholism that I have today. That's where I'm going to. I'd like to be present from the podium. And it doesn't ring well with certain people who are very charismatic. They can spin their stories out so well, and just like it rings in your ears, really musical. Mine's just going to be all over the place, man. Just like my alcoholism. I am not linear, okay? I am not linear. I try to be. Like I come up with a plan. I had a plan. I was 17 years old. Full-on alcoholism, rampant. And there's a thing in the book, it says we must stop playing God with the United States Navy, because I went and I assigned to the United States Navy something, this is a guy thing. This is a guy thing. I don't know about females. Some of you know I built a recovery house and turned into a treatment center I had nothing to do with that. I'm just qualifying that right now, okay? Nothing to do with that history. But guys always come to the recovery house and they go, oh, I need structure. I need structure. Oh my God, I'm destroying everything. Yes, I agree with you completely. And I said, this is what it's going to look like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, I need structure. About 5 days later, they're like, not like that. I don't want structure like that. Structure, this is wicked. Because I know by now, 25% of the people in this have already done this thing. Like, they're trying to be spiritual. We asked, please don't, look at your God box. Okay? But if you're like me, you can't not look at it. It's not possible. Oh, it's a good idea. It's so spiritual. Yeah, let's do that. Okay? So, just so you know how my alcoholism relates to this thing, this is, and so I actually will sit with you. And if you see me in a meeting, this is my qualifying. If you see me in a meeting with this on, I am not texting you or her or them. I'm digging in deep to the book. Because my brains I have a corrupted database, seriously corrupted database. And I don't know what it says on 73, but Google does, okay? I'm going to my sponsor. And this is a God box that I know will take me to hell. Now, if that sounds very disorienting, like, what? What? I have experience with that. That's my alcoholism. I'm here to carry a message. If alcohol is your problem, you're not alcoholic. That's straight up real information. If you actually, they say, I said earlier, what did I say? Which was, take what you can use, file the rest for your immediate problem. I know alcohol, the meth, the cocaine, all these designer things that are just going to get better, folks. Okay? I don't know if your brain's going to concoct that on the pillow tonight going, yeah. I love this, and this has nothing to do. I have a lot of opinions, too, and it pisses people off. But I love it when the meth heads come to me, and they're like, oh, and their lives are destroyed. Everything's destroyed. This guy did prison time, and he comes out, and some of us know him. And great guy. But he actually has addiction. He He didn't know it the first time before prison. Goes to prison. He goes, I'm never going to do this again. Never do this again. They come out with some cool, new, and improved designer meth. He's going back to prison. He comes after a 7-year stretch. He goes, you wouldn't believe this shit. And it actually scared him. It was so new and improved. What does that have to do with my experience? I'll tell you what it has to do. The Ted Bobbers with the plasma bank, 8:15 in the morning. Walgreens, they're everywhere. They didn't used to be everywhere. They were downtown Tucson. I'm homegrown down in Tucson. I did all my damage. This is important for me to let you know, because I know a few of those people here in this group said, oh God, I can't get sober in frickin' Lafayette, Illinois. I can't get sober in Punxsutawney Phil, Pennsylvania. Send me on a plane, go somewhere. I can't get sober here. I don't have that experience, folks. I did all my damage in Tucson, Arizona, a lot of damage. I did some other damage other places. Yes, I did go coast to coast. But I grew up in Tucson. I actually believe I contracted what you call the disease of alcoholism. I do not use that term. I don't use that term. And I feel very strongly about that. Treatment has to use that term because they get a lot of money when they treat a disease. But I'll just tell you, if you go do some Godbox stuff, stay away from hell, and ask that over 50% of the medical fraternity community does not believe alcoholism is a disease, does not have the same pathology. That's against what some of you guys learned in class and treatment. But I favor treatment. There's one reason. Oh, it's shining at me. Shit. Shake, shake, shake. The reason I'm like a AA geek. Like, I so am. Like, I am not denying it anymore. I know that there's probably, I don't know how many people, might be about 80 people in here tonight or something like that. There might be like 4 to 8, and I'm just ballparking numbers here, who are in treatment tonight. And they really, 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 deep down with them, want to be sober. But it's not cool. It just isn't. The reason I favor treatment is the book says we favor treatment. That's what the book says. It says we favor treatment to clear his head. You want to know what treatment was 85 years ago? Belladonna. That's what it was. You don't know what belladonna was? Go ask your sponsor, okay? You're going to learn some really cool stuff. Like, wait a minute. He was doing drugs in Bill Wilson was doing hydrotherapy. He was doing hydrotherapy. That'll fix me. And that was one of the most noted addiction treatment centers in the United States back then, 85 years ago. Hydrotherapy and belladonna. A little bit of psychology, a little bit of exposing stuff. And this may sound prejudiced. It's not prejudice at all. I worked in the treatment field, and I don't anymore. Treatment does not treat alcoholism. It treats the symptoms of my insanity. But it does not treat. It cannot treat. And that is not prejudiced thought. They have really good, cool stuff to do, man. I mean, unless you don't want to be there anymore. I mean, group is good. I've done therapy in sober. And I had this is experience, okay? I'm just telling you. It actually goes in there. I was 6.5 years sober. There was a young lady who spoke from this podium a week and a half ago on Saturday night. And she knows my story as a parent. And there's a couple of parents in this group. I just know a couple of parents in this group right now. And that bottle comes before the babies. That's a fact. That's a fact. I was 6.5 years sober, shining, suited up. I used to wear suits. I used to shave all the time. I was in law and looking good, bank account and stuff like that. Prescott Group was my home group. We had some big dogs there. 6.5 years, so untreated. I verbally assaulted my 5-year-old daughter with my voice. But I looked good. I was showing up at P Group. I was being of service. And an angel, this is a tough one. She's gone now. And this beautiful thing. Something happened. I went to my office. I couldn't take her to school that morning. I raged with my voice. I didn't touch her physically. And I went to my wife, my then wife, and I said, you need to take her. I was so scared of my next physical thing. And I got in the car, and no sooner did I get in the car, and this is untreated alcoholism, and I hope I can get to that place on my on and on, is that by the time I got to the car, the voice in my head said, out. Out. You will not harm that little girl like you watched your father beat your sister. And I checked in with that voice like that. Never challenged it. I went, yep, that's right, I'm out. I got to my office that morning, 6.5 years sober. And this woman called, and she'd never called my office. And then because of service or some wonderful, beautiful, correlation, connective tissue we call God. She goes, and I spilled it on her. I said, I'm freaked out. And I told her this story, and she goes, and I said, I think I got to go. I can't do this. I cannot be a parent. I can't hold it together. And she goes, so let me get this clear. And she took my inventory with no judgment, no nothing. She says, let me get this clear. You want to abandon your daughter so you feel good as a father. And I sat there holding this fucking, pardon me. Yeah, I don't like doing that. The box. And I had nothing to say because somebody lovingly took my inventory. Lovingly. With truth. She goes, why don't you treat your alcoholism and let your daughter have a father? And all I could say was the same thing I said on May 25th of 82. I said, no help me prayer, help me prayer. I don't believe there's any wrong prayers. I actually don't. I think there's more or less effective prayers, truly from inside out. The prayer I said, drunk, under the influence, half a bottle in with some other stuff that we'd love to do. I was on the floor. I couldn't get off the floor. I had a case of alcohol poisoning. Could not get off the floor, staying on the floor. May 25th, 82. And the prayer, the one-word prayer, was okay. That's it. That was the prayer. I practiced that prayer as diligently as I can this morning. And it's just simply a surrender of my plan for my life. That's all it was. I was in Alcoholics Anonymous the next day, and I had one exposure to Alcoholics Anonymous 2 years before. This time, I was 25 when I came in. And I'd been on the streets for about 3 years. The plasma bank, the whole thing. No family, no friends, no nothing. No nothing. So I guess part of my message to this morning, today, is that, oh God, don't take away my phone. My phone. I had no phone. There were no phones. I didn't have access to public phone. I didn't have I didn't have a car. I didn't have a job. I smelled very, very bad. I smelled like the streets. If you drank at the bars that I used to go find half-drank bottles behind. I wasn't drinking in the bars anymore. That's where I would go to find alcohol, half-drunk. That's a certain smell. There's a certain smell, and it smells. Now remember, this is May 25th of 1982. That's the beginning of summer. And the only people who know kind of what that smells like are people from Tucson or Phoenix or anywhere where it's 100 degrees by 10 o'clock in the morning. That's a certain smell. That's what I smelled like. So I'm just telling you my experiences. I didn't have a phone to get sober. I didn't have a car to get sober. I did not have a treatment center to get sober. I didn't have a recovery house to get sober. I had Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm not saying that to be a big badass, like, oh, look at my story. That's not why I say that. I say that because so many of you believe you need your phone, and you need this to be okay, and you need that to be okay, then I'll be sober. And I know you never even challenge it inside. You never challenge the voice. You've heard me say a couple of times already, the voice. That occurred to me. I believe I contracted. This is just my opinion, folks, not in the book. I believe I contracted alcoholism, the deadly fatal, the most fatal, deadly, progressive condition on this planet. I believe it. I contracted it at about 5 years old, and how I contracted it was I got paralyzingly afraid. One time, my dad was a rager, and there's fight, flight, or freeze. Well, my MO with fear is freeze. I freeze, and that means, and I'm going to say what we heard earlier a couple weeks ago is, I can't breathe. Now, much of my hope, strength and hope, comes with this deep internal message. I listened to my sponsor. I got the greatest sponsor ever. I was with him this morning. Holy mackerel guy. But what I need is something inside different than the voice up here. At 5 years old, I believe I contracted my alcoholism, and the reason was because I had, the best way I can put it, a full-on fucked off resentment at God. The God of my father's understanding. I was raised Catholic. I was never Catholic, man. That's a spiritual malady. When you take a little kid at 5 years old and you march him over to this place, and it was scary. It was actually scary. The people who got up at the podium were some scary folks saying some scary stuff. Like, really? Like, I mean, give a little 5-year-old some imagination. Like, that's natural. And you tell them you're going to burn in hell forever, ever, ever. And I'm like, I live in Tucson, Arizona. I have an idea what burning in hell is like. Okay? It's just that's true. My God. And so I started listening to these people, and I started getting all tight inside. And they keep bringing me back there, man. They keep bringing me back. I don't want to go. Part of my experience sober is when I said this earlier. Kelsey and I were at a meeting earlier, and I said this is true. I went to AA 38 and a half years ago, and my ears were so distorted. The filter in my ear was so distorted with the message. All you were saying was, hey, this is a spiritual program. You better get God, 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 God. And all I heard was, you're fucked. You better get God or you're going to get left, man. You're out. You don't belong. You don't belong. You don't belong. I heard from Alcoholics Anonymous, not that it was true, but what I heard. I have a filter that is very, very dirty. I didn't know that. How would you know that? It's just all tight. I contracted this thing at 5 years old. I would not get relief from my alcoholism for 10 years. Well, that's 12 years old. I had bleeding ulcer. 12 years old. Like, come on. We know that today. It's called stress. 12-year-old kid. Stressed out so much he has an ulcer. I had such bad skin. My skin was open sored. They couldn't close it up. They couldn't medicate it to make it close up. It was just crazy up here. I drank at 15. I'm a late bloomer. I was almost 16 years old. My first substance, this is my alcoholism. This is my alcoholism. My first substance that I am talking with my sponsor this morning about is sugar. And I'm wrestling it. Okay, I'm telling you, I'm 40 pounds heavy right now. And I know what that's like. And I'm wrestling it, and it's just waiting for one surrender. I know this. And I'm pretty sure there's a few people in this like, well, that's messed up, man. 38 and a half years sober without the thought of a drink. And you're wrestling with yeah, I am. But I'm open with it, and I'm trudging it, and I'm getting ready. The spiritual principle of getting ready. So I drank at almost 16 years old. I was the fourth of 4 kids, and I watched alcohol and drugs just knock my siblings down, knock them down into jails, self-inflicted wounds, knife wounds. Oh, crazy watching this happen. Not me. One night, I had no defense. I had a full-on resentment to a boss. I'm a little over 15 and a half years old. She said the wrong thing at the wrong time. I came home. I said, roll some of that up. Give me whatever you're drinking there. From that moment, I was treated. My relationship to alcohol is of a spiritual nature. That's my relationship to alcohol. This shit doesn't even come close. I mean, I know there's sugar in this. There shouldn't be any sugar, but there is sugar in there. I just turned to Kelsey and said, would you go get me some water? I was not obsessing about a Powerade, okay? It's just not happening. Distill it a little bit, or not distill it, but ferment it a little bit. I'd probably start obsessing about it, 38, 39 years ago. I have not had the thought, the obsession to consume alcohol for 38 and a half years. That's fact. My sponsor has gone 45 years without the thought of drinking. And the reason he's my sponsor today, from the podium, this man's known all over the world, from the podium, he's so very present with his alcoholism from the podium. He goes, let me tell you about 30 years sober. Let me tell you about untreated alcoholism as a member of AA at 30 years sober. And my ears start to burn because I have been going years now, pretending again, trying to be a good member of AA. And I hear a man come to the podium, and he almost took his own inventory. And I bolted to that man like I was a kindergartner, craving what I do, I can't think up. I can't think my way alone. Can't do it. And I had a great sponsor who, that's a whole nother thing. 15 and a half years old. I drank. I was made well. Alcoholism, I understand what the rhetoric we say. God, I've got to check. The rhetoric we say, oh, it stopped working. I understand it didn't get me to the party anymore. I'm alcoholic. I'm actually alcoholic, and I did mountains of other stuff. Okay, just mountains of other stuff. But the message I have to carry is because I'm alcoholic. Alcohol will never, ever, ever stop working for me. I have to find a prescription greater than alcohol. And I'll talk to you about God. If you want to talk about God, I'll talk to you about God now. But I will tell you, in the decades that have preceded or have come after that, I've become more agnostic, wonderfully agnostic in 38 years. More and more agnostic. And it's been a real foundational, amazing transformation within me. I didn't expect it. I thought I had to talk more God with you guys. God. Okay. I'll tell you what happened. This is what doesn't make sense to my brain. I've said this from this podium too. He's probably heard me say this. Maybe. Which is, it makes no sense at all. And this is no prejudice at all. It's going to sound prejudice, but it's not. I'm 2 weeks without a drink. I suffer alcoholism, not drinking. That's the message. I suffer. You give me a drink, I don't care what the consequences are. Jail, in the back of the... It doesn't matter. I'm treated. So I'm 2 weeks without a drink. May 26, 82, I walk into Alcoholics Anonymous. They say, don't drink. Oh, God, that's a problem. Go to meetings. Okay. Get a book. I can't afford one. I have nothing. I'm not going to Plasma Bank. They won't take me. Get a sponsor. Do what it says in the book with the sponsor. Carry that message to others. Okay, cool. Don't drink. Go to meetings. Get a book. Get a sponsor. Uh-oh. That's a problem. That means I have to actually have verbal communication with you. I'm no different. At 25 years old, without drinking, I don't form sentences well. I don't try to be cool with you. I just cannot actually come up to you and say, would you sponsor me? I wanted to because you were telling me that was the path. Follow the path. Follow what we do. This man, there was a special meeting just like this one. This used to be different. It was a beginner talk, an intermission smoke break. I was out on the smoke break. And that's another addiction of mine. I'm a deadly to die for nicotine addict. And I haven't thought of a smoke for about 37 and a half years. So this little guy comes up on me. I'm smoking a cigarette. Like, I'm pretty sure I got a force field way out here, man. Don't come in on that one, man. Like, it always worked pretty much. That's how I smelled at some point, but I don't smell that bad at 2 weeks sober. And he comes in at me. And I swear, this guy talked like this. Like this. And I'm like, there's like nails on a chalkboard, man. Just listening to him. But what he said wasn't that wah, wah, wah like Charlie Brown's teacher. What he says is, you look like you're going to leave. He freaking came into my space, and then he read me like a book, like a, see, Dick, run. Run, Dick, run. I'm like, Jesus, what does it say that on me? I swear, that cigarette was my last cigarette, and I was leaving because I can't talk. I can't ask somebody. I have no verbal skills without alcohol. None. I'm not kidding. It stays stuck right here. It's really good. Good idea. But I did, because he came into my space. And I'm going to characterize this guy. This was a little short, gay, whiny Catholic guy with permanent balding hair. He was like bald, but he put permanent in it or something like that to make it stick up. I mean, like, this is not my guy, man. This is not my guy. And that is no prejudice at all. It's just a characterization. I couldn't hardly stand listening to him talk, and he saved my life. That's Alcoholics Anonymous. when I put aside my plan, everything I think I need to be okay, and he comes up on me, and it's everything different than ever, that has to be like this. And that man just went boom, 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 boom. And within about 2 months, I was on my 9th step and having a huge spiritual displacement. Huge. And then alcoholism in its sneaky little, I call it sneaky buzzard because I have a voice in my head. And I don't discount it anymore. I just call it a sneaky buzzard because I still have it. Okay? I don't try not to have it. I'm not trying to be spiritual. I'm just trying to do what the prescription says. Part of my message is I don't believe Alcoholics Anonymous is for everybody. I don't think the program as outlined, the steps, is the only prescription. I think it's the strongest prescription for defiant, self-reliant people like me. I don't want to be defiant and self-reliant. I really do want to have a whole host of friends. I really do. But I'm pretty sure by now, I'm like 9.5 years into my drinking. I'm pretty sure I need to drink to have, there's no more whole host of friends. That's gone like 3 years back. I do this because I have to, because some of you will know there's a few folks here who are you're new, and you're going to take a fear inventory. Well, every human being has the fear of speaking to audiences. Every human being, like 98.5% of them, have a deep fear of being at a podium talking to people. And I breathe right now. When you see me slowing down, and it's because sometimes I'll get rattle going in my head, and it just that whole cute thing, breathe God in and self out kind of thing. It actually works for me like a tide thing. But as someone else said from this podium, alcohol was a spiritual experience. And the root word of spiritual, the Latin root, is to breathe. That is the actual one of the definitions of in spiritu. Check this one out. And this is why we have these wonderful bongs and all sorts of other cool stuff. Bongs help me breathe. I don't know about you guys, but yeah. What? Okay, I'm going to do it. This is because I like to do it. It's fun. It's just like, okay, it's... All sorts of fucked off I was feeling 45 seconds ago is gone, man. I don't know if it's hyperventilating. I don't know. Now, if you would have watched me relate to marijuana about 40 years ago, you would say two things about both my marijuana consumption and my cocaine consumption. Okay? If you'd have found me face down in the snow in Iowa, in the snow, and blood all in the snow from coming out my nose, and with good intentions, you would have picked me up and said, Rick, you're a horrible cocaine addict. You're going to die a horrible cocaine death. I would have believed you because I would have had limited information. I was in a pipeline of cocaine and mountains of, this is it. Listen to your head right now, ready? Ready? Because you guys come from all sorts of places. I grew up in Tucson, Arizona. That means cheap shit Mexican weed. Yeah, there it is. There it is, that. Well, I joined the Navy. I'm all over the place. And now I'm in the Navy, and I'm delivering some cheap Mexican weed out to the coast, because I need it. And the surfers, they were all uppity, man. If you're a surfer, don't listen to me. But they were so freaking uppity, like, oh, it's not Colombian. Boy, I'll tell you, guess who they came knocking on when they ran out of their stuff? Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Whole host of friends. I have a wonderful spiritual experience with marijuana and cocaine and some other stuff. I tried some of you guys, you opiate guys. They didn't have little tiny pills in 20, 40, and 80s, but they did not have those back then. But I tried, okay? And every freaking opiate addict, every heroin addict says to me, you didn't try hard enough, you okay? You didn't try hard enough. I did. Opium and morphine and it's just stuff like that. I tried. But you see, I had a spiritual experience with alcohol. When the cocaine matter, and they picked me up, I detoxed for 2 days by myself, no nothing. I went, this shit's killing me. Stopped doing cocaine just like that. No program, no steps, no sponsorship, no treatment. Same thing with weed. I was 22 years old. Something happened. I'm just telling you, something happened. Can't be explained. And I would not, this is my baseline definition of my obsession with being okay with my drinking. Is because cocaine, marijuana, the pills, at 22 years old, I will not lie, cheat, or steal for them anymore. I used to, but I won't anymore. Nobody told me nothing. For the next 3 years, I will lie, cheat, and steal for alcohol. That's because I didn't have a job. So we do a lot of stealing, and you know, I'm not going to teach anybody how to steal alcohol, but stick around your treatment centers. You'll learn all that shit. Oh my God. We have made, this community has made more freaking heroin addicts, man. They come here and they're just a little bit of like a pot addict, and then 3 years later they're sticking abscess and things, having their testicles removed. Whoa. Oh my God, that's so terrible. Yes, and the mother's calling me from Seattle, save my little baby boy, save him please. Like, no, I can't. I can't save myself. Where do I get the big head I think I can save you? But I'm going to be the carrier of the message. First word, first step. I'm a first word, first step guy. And the reason why this is so impossibly impossible is without alcohol. There is no we. For me, there isn't any. Without alcohol, there is no we. There's me. That's it. And I know they teach you all this cool stuff, but they can't teach us how to surrender in treatment. It's not possible. You might have a cool experience. I can direct you to some people in this room right now. Man, oh man. This little short, gay, whitey Catholic guy with permanent bony hair says, that night he says, you come with us. And I was like a puppy dog. My super cool Kevlar freaking spiritual thing just shrunk. And I went, okay, all right. How did I know that was going to be the beginning of the end for me managing my life? I know alcohol is my spiritual experience. Now without drinking, what do? I see color. I see everything in life is incredible. And I don't care if I have all the jails from San Bernardino County Jail. Anybody in this camp? No, nobody. Pinellas County Jail. Anybody? No. Pima County Jail. Maricopa County Jail. No, sorry. That's not being anonymous. And what? I drink, I go to jail. So what? So what? She leaves me. So what? Okay? You want to go with scars? Scars? With my, me managing my life. Because all that was wrong. Okay, and I did this earlier in a meeting, and I got to say this is important for me. Because there's actually a lot of, pardon me, this is lip-flapping bullshit rhetoric in AA. And this is what we hear sometimes in meetings. My aim is such and such, and you're looking at the problem. Okay? And he believes it. It's said regularly in AA meetings. I'm the problem. I'm the problem. I'm the problem. You know how I know that's not true? Logic works for me. And that's because it says it in the book. Logic works for me. Because if we were to sit down and have some coffee with the master commander, chief operating engineer, officer, architect of all the universe, and I asked the question, am I the problem? I get this gentle truth saying, no, Rick. No, you're not the problem. You have a problem. I know. But you're not the problem. And I know why somebody will go drink tonight. With 38 and a half years, doesn't matter. 38 and a half days, 38 and a half minutes, hours, doesn't matter. But the one for me matters. 38 and a half years he'll drink tonight, and the only reason he'll drink is because a voice in his head will say, pardon me, fuck it. Exit, because that's the only strategy it has in all of life to manage my life, is to exit. Jobs, relationships, geography, go. It's time to go. That'll then I'll be okay. And go to the bar along the way. That's a good plan. That's its only protocol. Exit. Stop talking. That's an exit mode. So tonight somebody's going to drink because of a voice in their head, and they're going to believe that's them. And I have the same voice, and I know in 24 hours I've had a reprieve from believing that's me. It's not me. Me is me. The reason I can logically tell you that is when and if you do a third step and make a decision that me is me and self is self, tell self to, pardon me, really for guys, this works for guys, just tell self, not today. You're not going to manage I'm going to have feelings, I'm going to have all this stuff, but I'm going to keep my feet in this prescription. Watch what happens. Because that's the very first thing we say is to counteract the voice in my head. I had the voice for 2.5 months, from May to July in Tucson, Arizona. Voice was like, go, leave, you can come back. You can come back. It's okay, man. You got this now. You hear what they're saying, but let's go drink, you can come back. And I stayed, and I stayed, and I stayed. And that was the very first evidence I am not the voice in my head. And I have to stay with that prescription today. Upon awakening, there's very specific instructions. The prescription is just the prescription. This is just the prescription. It is not the medication. The medication is the action that the voice in my head says, no, we're not staying. We're leaving. And you want to hear something interesting? If you start paying attention to it, if you really start paying attention to it, it's going to say something like, you're leaving. It doesn't even say we. It says, you leave. And I just, like a bull, ring through my nose. It's called addiction. It's a graphic representation. I have no say in the matter. Because I have never sought a second voice. And this is what I do this morning. This morning before I called my sponsor. I'm struggling with food. I'm struggling with sugar. Okay, so this is what kills most alcoholics. The book says certain trials and low spots ahead. That's what it says. Life is going to suck. Six weeks ago, my brother called me. 31 years without a drink. Member of Alcoholics Anonymous. He's a don't drink, go to meeting guy. Don't get a match close to him, he'll fucking incinerate. Okay? Never took the steps. He hit my brother, he hit me sober, blah, blah, blah. But he's not drinking, going to meetings, not drinking, going to meetings. 6 weeks ago, he calls me, he says, Rick, I can't do it anymore. He's got my 93-year-old mother. He's caretaking her. Some bad shit's happening. And he's one of these people, excuse me, I actually don't have any judgment. He's one of these people like, oh, it's all conspiracy theories. Fuck this mask. This man brought home the bug and infected my 93-year-old mother with the fucking bug just because he wouldn't wear a mask. Okay? He calls me 6 weeks ago. He goes, I can't do it. And I'm beelining to my mother. I go in the house and he's on the floor coughing up blood. And I can't deal with my brother. I got my 93-year-old mother. She's severe Alzheimer's. And my sister says, get her to test. Go get her tested. I'm like, okay, fine. Okay, that's my thing. That's my thing. Okay. I know a few minutes. Called the ambulance on my brother. They come take him away. He spent the next 10 days in hell, literal hell. My brother's greatest resentment were hospitals. Hospitals. He died alone and afraid, untreated alcoholism in hell in a hospital. And I couldn't get to him. The only thing that connected me to him was the God box. And there's some very cool stuff on that. Very, very cool stuff. But he goes, Rick, I'm dying. They're doing all this stuff. And I'm like, I love you, man. I love you. Know that? And I got my mother with me. And she's ramping down. I'll show you pictures. 3 weeks ago, my mother died at my house. I'm going to say this out loud. It's the darkest place ever in my recovery. Ever. Because I thought about taking a plastic bag and putting it over my 93-year-old mother's face. The pain was unbelievable. It was not checked at all. And I stayed with it, and I had sponsored through it all. So finally, hospice went off the charts. They're like, we've got to, and they literally shoved the freaking morphine down way past, because my mother couldn't swallow, and she doesn't have the IVs. The message is the message of hope. I know. Strength and hope, every bit of strength that I have today. I've been sober. I have not had a drink or a drug for 38 and a half years. The thought of, no, man. That's nothing, man. It's a wee thing. It's 38 and almost a half years, short of a couple months. The thought of drinking has not entered my gray matter. Just not even been there. Through all of it. 3.5 years sober, I lost it. We lost the son. And I had this AA thing, this whole host of friends that I really, given my default code, would push away, and they just wouldn't take my self's bullshit. They just came in. How do you deal with that, man? I'm not saying I'm a bigger badass. I'm just saying we lost it. My son, our son. So we're those of us who keep coming back. We're just so filled. I know, on and on. But thank you, Mike, for asking me. I knew it wasn't conventional, and you didn't know that it wouldn't be conventional. So now I won't ever be invited back. But you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm mostly good. Some guys here know I'm good one-on-one. I'm really good one-on-one. I'm really good 2-on-1. I love to grab other alcoholics 2-on-1. The guy doesn't know what to expect, okay? It's just the most. Bill and Bob didn't do 1-on-1s. They did 2-on-1s, okay? There's so much in this thing. I'm a student of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I will be to my last breath. And I found a prescription greater than alcohol. Glad you guys are here, because I'm not all there. Thanks.
All right, let's give Rick another round of applause. Thank you.